Yeah, no, me too. Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, of course. I think might have mentioned like I found playlist on like a curated playlist. Funny enough, um,
So meta.
yeah,
Okay.
and I was just like this is amazing. And I also found some of the split too, like around when those were getting released
Oh,
on
cool.
curated playlists. So I was like always in the back of my mind. And then I saw you were releasing the full length, and I was like, okay, I got to try and make this something happen here.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm really happy with the split that came out and excited for the new album for sure.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And you're in Minneapolis, right?
Yes, yep,
Cool.
yeah,
Been to the
yeah.
Mall of America?
I've been a few times. It's funny enough
Yeah.
where like I only go when like my parents visit. Other
It
than
sounds like one
that,
of those things where it's like, oh, people who like go visit, that's where you take them or something. But like, we have, well, I'm from San Francisco. I live in Raleigh now, but like we have the Golden Gate Bridge and no one really goes to the Golden Gate Bridge unless like someone's visiting.
yeah, there's like an unspoken rule here too where it's like if you live in Minneapolis, you don't really go to the mall. Like there's other malls in the area. If you need to get something, you go
Yeah.
there or you just order it online.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'd probably do the same thing.
Uh, but yeah, I've walked that mall. I feel like way too many times at this point. It's like four stories and
Yeah.
it's a good way to like get your steps in, or if you do Pokemon Go, it's a good way to hatch some eggs if you
Nice,
got time to
nice.
kill.
Yeah.
Before we get started, do you have any questions?
I don't think so. Um, no, I'm ready.
All right. Well, I guess my only question for you before we start is, do you have an unopened beverage that you would like to participate in the open
Okay, I
crack with?
have an open beverage and I
Okay.
have an unopened one. I should have waited for the can though, because now, I don't know, this is like sort of like carbonated a little bit, so maybe it'll make a sound.
It should still
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
All right. So what I'll do is I'll count us in. We'll crack these, and then I'll do the little intro and bring you in, and then we'll just have a good time.
cool.
All right. So in three, two, one. Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This week, I'm sitting down with Lizzie from the band Teens in Trouble. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Kind of like we mentioned, it's Saturday, the sun's shining. Can't go wrong with that. So, I mean, I haven't been outside yet, so I'm hoping it's at least a decent temperature, but at least the sun's out.
I too have not been outside, so maybe someday I will.
Right. For people that might not be aware, Teens in Trouble is a punk dream pop band from Raleigh, North Carolina. Um, I mean, you yourself have been doing Teens in Trouble kind of since I think Santa Monica came out in like 2015 or 2017. I saw like it's been
Yeah,
out there for a hot minute.
yeah, I started Teens in Trouble as a solo project, so it was just me writing songs, and I'd been in punk bands before, so this was my first time really trying stuff out solely on my own as like the main songwriter. Um, and yeah, 2015, I was in between jobs and decided to spend a little more time with music, and then I started going back to work, I think around 2016. And so that's sort of like after Santa Monica came out, I was just dormant for a few years because work was pretty intense. And I also hadn't really established a band yet. So we didn't
Mm.
really play shows or anything like that. So when Santa Monica was out, like we did get a few um, requests to play shows. I'm like, I don't have a band. And then I sort of started picking things back up again when the pandemic started because everyone was just, um, trying to find some creative outlet. during the pandemic, and my work slowed down a little bit. So I decided to start writing again. And some friends of mine who were in active touring bands and their tours got canceled, they started doing like these songwriting workshops online. So that's kind of what kickstarted everything for me in terms of like getting back into writing. We would just meet every week and work on songs, and that's how the EP that came out in 2022 sort of came together.
Nice. With like you taking like we mentioned, Santa Monica came out in like that 2015 time, and then you kind of obviously there's a 7 year gap between there. For people that have listened to Santa Monica, which please go do, and also listen to the self-titled EP. I listened to everything today, but you kind of see like this shift in sound where like Santa Monica is kind of like this. I feel like I was listening to it and I was like, I can tell I can tell the Californianess in this. Like it's got like that kind of like surfy vibe, and then in the music video where you kind of cut in like those old school images, like it fit perfect with that. And then with like the self-titled, and especially going into the LP, we kind of see a change in a slight change in like musical direction. Do you think that there's anything like that heavily influenced that whole change in that time period?
Yeah, so I don't know if it happened like in between those 7 years, but it's interesting listening back because I hadn't actually listened to Santa Monica in a long time up until I released um, the debut EP. I think just because, it's hard to listen to your own songs, I feel like. And I think after, and between that 7 year period, I felt like I wasn't really as connected musically. I mean, I was listening to a lot of songs, but I mean, I had a 7 year or like 5 year writer's block where I was like still trying to write songs, but I think I was just so focused on work that every time I tried to write something, I was like, this is stupid. This sounds so dumb. And that's what the songwriting workshops helped a lot with, was just sort of letting go of that, like you have to write a good song right away. The songwriting workshops were more about just like the practice of writing anything every week, and like sometimes they'll be it, sometimes they won't. And but at least you like put in the work and like put in the practice. um but listening back to Santa Monica after I had released the EP, like it's obviously a very different style, but you kind of see the through line. I think there's still like a poppy element to it, and like sort of I don't know. When I write songs, I tend to gravitate towards lines or melodies that like stick in my head. Um, so I think that sort of like um, uh, that like catchiness element is in some of the songs. And however, like going back to Santa Monica, I was listening to like a lot of Best Coast and like a lot of Beach Boys and like Ronettes. So I was like kind of gravitating towards that sort of like group harmony thing,
Hmm.
um, mixed with like a surfy sound. And I think with some of the new stuff in the LP that I'm putting out, I guess which will be out by this time, um, I do bring back some like surfy elements, but they're like more surf punk instead of like surf rock or pop. They're very subtle, but I think they're there. But I think the biggest change is just when I started writing Santa Monica, I was trying to purposely get out of the stuff that I usually do. And that usual stuff was more like punk rock with like, you know, 3 chord power chord progressions, um and that was sort of like my first time learning to really sing, because like bands I've been in before were more like just yelling.
Mm.
So that's why Santa Monica I think is the way that it is. I was just like really trying to um stretch out a bit and and try something new. But then going back to, or going into the EP from 2022, and then also just like through the split and the new album, I started bringing back more of the punk elements from what I knew before, because I think now I'm just like, I just want to like play what feels most true to me, even if it feels simplistic in my mind, where I'm like, all I know is power chords. I'm like, well, I know power chords, so let's do that. It's like, I know rock music, I know punk music. Let's like put more of that in. So it's like, I think these last few releases on Asian Man are just more like, uh, they're like more from my roots, I guess.
Yeah, no, yeah, that makes sense. You know, I've loved the transition. It's always fun to see like where like how an artist puts something out, and where they're at in their lives, because like I always say, like every release is a timestamp on your life as to where you are. So it's kind of cool to
That's
see like
exactly what
that.
I say too. Did you read that from my Instagram? No, just kidding.
But I always love seeing those, and like seeing where bands are at in their life when they go to release something, because um, while a band can continue to write the same stuff all the time, and the same topics, it's nice to see that change. You don't want to
Mhm.
listen to a 40-year-old guy talk about high school problems. Uh, it kind of gets sad after a while,
Yeah.
and not in a good way. But it's nice, and like I said, everyone go listen to the self-titled EP and Santa Monica, because they're both killer. Santa Monica also has a kind of a fun, almost slightly creepy like music video. Creepy in the sense where like you start out, you're in like that like room, your VCR breaks, which is to me like the funniest thing now, being in 2024 watching that. Um, and like you just going through like this almost like graveyard of like TVs and electronics. Like it was creepy in like an eerie way, but
Even
not
back
like
then in
overall.
2015, I think we had to find that VCR at a thrift store or something like
Yeah,
that.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. Like, where are we gonna
Uh,
find a VCR? But yeah, the cool thing about that, and I'm glad you liked the video. Like, I watched it again semi recently, and I was like, "Aw, that was fun to do." And
yeah,
we filmed all of that in Joshua Tree, California, and I think like that like abandoned house that I walk out of is just like out there in the middle of nowhere. Maybe it's still the way that it is. But yeah, just like looking back at that, I did that music video with a friend of mine named Kyle Broom, and he actually just did the most recent video we put out. It's Up to Me.
yeah,
So it's cool to like have that come back full circle almost 10 years later. He also did the video for I'm Not Worried, where we're in space. So that was like the first video we put out on Asian Man.
yeah. No, that's awesome that you're able to kind of come back and do those again. Maybe we'll see that house if you're ever back in the Joshua Tree area and go to do another video. Maybe we could see the return of the house, or see where it's
I don't even
at
know if
that
I
point.
remember how to find it. I'll have to ask Kyle, but yeah.
Um, but yeah, so everyone go listen to those. One other cool thing you've done recently before we jump into this LP is back in November, you put out a split with Desert Mambas, which, 4 song split, two each, which I kind of mentioned before we fully started. Some of those songs were popping up on like my curated playlist, and I was already becoming a fan from those. And it was such a good split, and I love you two together on that. It works out so well.
Oh, I love Bailey. Yeah, that split came together so fast and just driven by our own excitement for each other. Bailey is a friend of mine I've known, I think maybe since 2020. Um, and we we work together in our day jobs, and it's funny, like I think when we first met, they thought I was super serious, because I'm always just like, where's this thing by the deadline? And I'm just checking on status of that. But then like I think I started following Bailey on Instagram and then saw that they were in a band and I was like, whoa, you're in a band too? And then we became best friends. so um so I've been following their stuff for a little bit, and then they started their so that band was Fox Bodies, who's also on Kill Rock Stars, but Bailey started their solo project Desert Mambas, I, and released their first EP, I think last year also in May. Time is just like weird. And I love their songs and their style, and they're just really a great person. So the thing that's backwards about the split is like we record we wrote and recorded that fully after I had already finished recording my full length album. But we were just like, so I contacted Bailey right after I recorded the full length, and I was just like still so excited from like being in the studio and like having recorded this record. So I texted them and was like, "What if we wrote a song together?" And this was like April 2023, and they're like, "What if we released a split?" And I was like, "What if we released a split EP?" And then just like one thing led to another, and then so July that year, I recorded my songs, and I think Bailey recorded their songs in August. Then we announced it in October, and then it was out in November. So it was just like this 8 month cycle of just like putting this out really fast, which was cool. Like I think the songs are a bit more raw and like less polished, but I think they just have their own like little charm to them, and it just feels nice to like put out songs with your friends.
Yeah, it's also got to feel a little nice to like do it in such a quick time frame rather than like you said you were already sitting on a fully recorded album that you were
Mm-hmm.
waiting on putting out. Like it's been kind of like a reoccurring topic lately. I feel like when I'm talking to people of just we've been sitting on it for a year. We wanted to put it out. We've been
Yeah.
stuck with
Why do we
this.
sit on it? What? Well, I
Right.
mean, like, yeah. We during that time we were still mixing the album, and I was also working with my friends on the full length. And we don't all live in the same area. Like I'm in Raleigh right now, but my friends who I recorded with are in California. So Randy Moore, who recorded with me on the first EP, and so he recorded bass and guitar and produced the record. And then he also recorded instruments on the split and also the full length. So he's sort of like been with this like newer version of Teens in Trouble since 2022. And um, and yeah, Mike Huguenot, who plays guitar in Jeff Rosenstock, I've known him since we were in high school, or I was in high school, and he's also in San Jose. And then Henry Chadwick, who played drums on the records, uh, he was in Santa Cruz, but now he's in Portland. So we were just like, passing notes back and forth online. And then once we got into the studio for the split EP in July, we had also just finished mixing the full length.
Oh, nice.
It's like, okay, well, since we're all together here, let's just finish this.
Yeah, that definitely worked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the split came out amazing. Everyone definitely go check that out as well. Um, it's got to be kind of like exciting and like a nice little like to ride like the wave of like the highness of just like okay, we put out this split and like we're still feeling good, but at the same time I still have this whole LP that gets to come out in a few months. And you're just riding that wave
Oh my
uh
God. I think like
until then.
now is like the hardest time where it's like you're just between the last single and when the full length comes out. It's just like, oh my God, now what do I do with myself? I gotta write more songs. But it's hard for me to write new stuff when I'm thinking about like the stuff I'm currently putting out, which is not I'm hoping to like not do that. But yeah, that's why it was nice to do the split with Bailey, because it was like a nice distraction from like trying to wrap up the full length.
Yeah. But yeah, so now getting into this LP, we're in your, I mean, at the time of this recording, we're in your uh, lead up LP to LP season for you. At the time of this recording, there's been 3 singles released so far, which are all solid.
Thanks.
You start out with you don't want to mess with me, and then you release playlist, and then like you said, the most recent one is it's up to me. And one thing, one like first of all, thank you for sending over the record so I could check it out, and two, thank you for not front loading the record. And
What do you mean?
I say that in the aspect of a lot of bands, I feel like when they're doing an LP, a lot of their singles are all like within the first 5 songs.
Oh, yeah.
So you have your first single, which is the first song on the album, and then your next 2 singles are like 8 and 9 on the album. So it was nice to not just like hit everything I knew right away and then just like be distracted by the rest of the album. It was more like, here's what I know, here's everything to um to get me going until like I get to the ones I do know, and then like it makes me like pay it. It felt like I paid attention more to like the bulk of the album than I normally would.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there's a lot of different factors and thinking into like the track listing for the album. I think when I made the album order or like the song order, we hadn't 100% confirmed the singles yet.
Hmm.
I think usually when I'm like putting it together, I try to go by like energetic flow, which is sounds like pretty woo woo, but I mean, this is kind of the same way. Like if I put together a playlist for a friend, where I'm like, I want it to like flow. I don't want them to get bored in the middle of it or something like
Right.
that. So that was sort of like the thinking behind the order, and then also, like I think thematically, there's a lot of songs about like time and like the relationship with time. So there's a lot of songs about like wasting time and like feeling stuck. And I think it was just something I've been going through over the past year or past couple of years while writing that. Um, and I also didn't want all those like time songs like one right after the others. I'm like, how do I break this up so it's not just like, hey, here's a song about me being lazy. Here's a song about me being on autopilot. So, um, which is funny to think back at now because like there are whole albums that are like one love song after the other. So like, why can't you have a whole album full of songs about time? But I did want to break that up a little bit. And then I was also just thinking about like if you're listening to it on vinyl, like what would side one, but what's a good side A and what's a
Mm.
good side B, and that feels like balanced. So yeah, I don't know. This is what my brain like sort of like thought about all these things, and um, yeah, I felt like so I was gonna start the album with Awkward Girl because it just felt like that was like an introduction to me. But then when I was talking to Randy about it, he's like, you got to start with You Don't Want to Mess with Me. It's just like in your face, like, put the needle on the player and like, bam, that's the first song and like sets the stage for like the record. So I'm glad we ended up going with that.
Yeah, I completely agree. As good of a song as Awkward Girl would have been to start, uh, You Don't Want to Mess with Me comes out so strong of just like, okay, this is what I'm in for this record. Let's buckle in. Let's go. Let's see where this where Lizzie takes us, and it's just a great ride throughout. Like I was I always try and think of like one of my favorite songs. I know Playlist. It's Playlist is a great fast catchy song, but it's also like the first song I listened to fully that like really got me engaged in Teens in Trouble. So it's
Oh,
hard
cool.
to like find another like to find a song to compete with it. But I don't know. There's so many good songs on here. It's just hard to
Oh,
figure out
thank
which
you.
one I want to like box up with it.
Yeah, yeah, and then like ending on well, ending second to last on It's Up to Me was a deliberate choice too, just because I felt like that's a big sort of like momentous and anthemic like ending where it's like all this sort of like culminates to like, you know, I made this happen. So like, and we played a few live shows where we ended with that song, and it's just like this big epic thing. Um, but then of course I had to like actually end on the song "I'm Not Perfect," which is a little bit slower. And me being like a huge Weezer fan, like I think about like the endings of Blue Album and Pinkerton, where they end with like something slow and a little bit different.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice like little change of pace going into the final because
Mhm.
you could have like the super hyped up song to end on, but then it's nice to like let end off on like something like softer to kind of just like ease us out of the whole album and just be like, okay, the like imagine like a chapter book like closing. You want to just like
Exactly.
you eventually it's just closing softly. It's not like closing super hard or anything like that.
Hmm.
And it's just those little aspects is why I love talking to bands about like how they come up with stuff like and you're thinking of how you break all that down. Like it's amazing to me.
Yeah, and I think like when you're thinking about something, I mean, this is my first full-length album. And when I think about like an album, it feels, I don't know, in a way it's like your own story, right?
Hmm.
So, um, and the way you're trying to like thread the narrative is just like, at least for me, it was like the vibe of these songs and like what are like the peaks and valleys, and then like how do we end it? Like how do we conclude this album?
Yeah, and I loved the whole ride throughout. You know, along with this album, you've also put out with the three singles, you put out three music videos, one for each. And
Yeah, I'm kind of like
they're
glad that there are no more videos because they are so much work, but they were a lot of fun.
they're all unique in their own way and completely different. Like obviously, like I mentioned, "You Don't Want to Mess with Me" was the first single and that the first music video, and that one is like this really cool like stop motion uh journey or like we're watching you kind of go around Raleigh. One of my favorite parts was in the scene where you're kind of like backing up from the camera, but you're with your dog, and like the dog's still in full speed, but you're like still stop motioned.
That was
Uh,
like probably one of the hardest shots because he could not stand still, but it kind of made it like better just because he was very chaotic in the shot. But yeah.
uh, but yeah, so we see you kind of do that. There was one other part of that that I thought was kind of funny. I think just like I think it's a scene where you're like on the street, like on the sidewalk by the street, and you kind of do like this like 360 turn, but it's all still stop motion. I thought that was so like just out of pocket, but also like so cool and unique to like just do that. I was like, oh hell
Oh
yeah.
my God. I've never felt so embarrassed like all week when we were shooting that. So yeah, you know, with stop motion, like you have to take a photo frame by frame. And so for like to have 1 second in that video maybe took like 30 minutes to shoot. Where it's like we'd shoot and then like 30 minutes would go by. It's like, cool, what do we have? And my friend Asia, who did the video, she's like, we have 3 seconds. It's like, no. And I'm just like out in broad daylight in downtown Raleigh, like making all these like weird gestures. Um, the biggest uh, thing that happened, or like maybe like the funniest but not funny at the time thing that happened with that video is like, and Asia's gonna hate that I said this, but the video came out and it's fine. But so we shot 3 days, or we were supposed to shoot 3 days, I think. Um, we did one day, and then we did the second day, and that full second day, we lost all the footage.
Oh no.
Yeah. So um, so on the third day, like Asia was staying at my house, and I wake up and she's just like in my living room up. I'm like, oh hey, what's up? And she's like, I have to tell you something. And I'm like, okay. She's like, don't be mad. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, I lost all the footage. And it's just like one of those things where you don't really believe it at first, and then you think about like the whole day that just happened, and you're like, no. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I tried to recover it on the card, but it's corrupt, and so we lost like 8 hours of me posing around Raleigh and just like it was like silent for 5 minutes, and then I was like, we're gonna do it again. We're gonna do that whole day again, and we did. And there's I think there's maybe like one scene we didn't redo that we're never gonna get back. That's fine. Like look, if you watch the video, all the stuff like the opening sequence where I'm looks like surfing in the park, we redid all that. Where I go through the red square, more square, like sign in the park, we redid that. All that stuff going up and down the stairs and like out of the parking lot where I'm like waving and throwing something in the garbage, all redone. Like there's so much that we redid. However, like if we didn't redo all that, I don't think we would have ever gotten the swan scenes, because that was just something we came up on the fly. We're like, hey, what about this place called Pullen Park that has these two swans? And I was like, well, let's go there. And so yeah, we got some good stuff we wouldn't have gotten otherwise, I think.
Yeah, so silver lining, and like you said, it the video still came out great. It's a joy to watch. You know, it's also like kind of funny because you know how I think the scene where you're like coming down the stairs, you can kind of see it on your face where you're like trying not to laugh and in like each cut. And I just loved that like little moment because like it would to me it'd also be kind of like awkward of like okay the camera's just on me this entire time and you're trying not to laugh that entire time.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely in the park scenes, and just like me posing throughout the park, we'd just get people watching us or like coming up and asking what we were doing. So thanks to the city of Raleigh for letting us act a fool.
And then you know probably a music video that encapsulates a song. I feel like kind of perfectly with playlist. You have a bunch of your friends that submitted like videos to the music video where you're all kind of going through your vinyl collection and just like pulling up records that kind of like fit different spots of the songs where you're kind of like talking about like songs that make you cry, songs that make you think of her, and like all that. I thought that was really cool and like genius way to kind of do that track to have everyone do that.
Thanks. Yeah, no, that was my idea, and that was actually more of a response to like, we had a huge undertaking of a video with You Don't Want to Mess with Me, and I knew that we were going to do something pretty big for It's Up to Me. So I was like, what is a way I can do a video easily without a lot of money? And playlist just made the most sense for that, where it's like, well, let's just like share all our favorite records. And I know a lot of my friends have really awesome record collections, and they were all down to be part of the video. So I thought it turned out really great, and like I think the thing that was fun for a lot of people, because like all the records go by so fast, is just like trying to see like, oh wait, what was that record? I think I recognize that one.
Yeah, like I looked at the comments section on like that video and just like the amount of people that were like they would like just comment like a certain band because they saw like
Yeah.
someone just a glimpse of it was kind of
Yeah.
cool to see that.
And the cool thing I thought too, seeing like all my friends' footage, was just like seeing how many people had the same records. So like um, me and Jake from Sweet Gloom both showed Pet Sounds from the Beach Boys. I think um, Henry and Lucy from Dog Party had a couple similar ones, and so did Mike Huguenot with my friend Helene, who's in a band called the Achmonics. But yeah, it was just cool to see like people pick the same thing.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too. I was like, oh, like I think two of them all both had like the Descendants record up, and I was like,
Yeah.
it's. I mean, music is subjective in every way, and it's kind of cool that like their whole where they're both holding it up in the song, like it like they both feel like the same way about it. It's kind of cool
Yeah.
in that
Yeah,
aspect.
I mean, I would have also picked Pinkerton by Weezer like Henry did if I had it on vinyl.
And then it kind of leads up to the third single, "It's Up to Me," which is kind of like this cool switch between being like live band performances, uh, and then like you singing along on your own, and then kind of taking us down like this weird kind of like trippiness that I think I'm about to do the third rewatch and try and like fully understand what's going on.
Yeah, that's the Kyle Broom special. Yeah, like I mean, you mentioned how like you felt like the Santa Monica video was trippy, and it's like, yeah, I think that's Kyle's thing. I mean, wait, so putting together that video was super fun. Like we did it in two locations. The stuff with the band, of course, was in San Jose, at District where we recorded the album. So it was nice. It felt like symbolic to like bring everybody back in that space. And also like this was the same band and like the same video crew who did the I'm Not Worried music video. And that happened like in 2022, almost around the same time of the year. So it's like, whoa, we're like back here. But like District recording looks way different now. So it's cool to use the newly remodeled space for that and just like uh, rock out on video. And then we filmed the other stuff with me here in North Carolina. And my friend Kyle stayed with us for a whole month, um, putting that together. So the scene where you're like going into my mind, that was in my studio where like I have all my instruments and stuff, but um, we shot that. I think it took like a day to do that part. Weirdly, the thing that took the longest. There's that scene in the first set of Oz where like it's dark and you just see like these lights go past me. Uh, that was all like practical effects. So like we set up this whole um, scene with like string lights hanging down and like darkening everything, and it was all in my living room, and I'm just like on this dolly going backwards and forwards, so it looks like I'm going through like space, but it's just my living room. And it took 2 days to set up, and that scene is only 2 seconds long. All for the love of art.
Yeah.
And then all the outdoor stuff was like outside here. In North Carolina. We used smoke bombs, and that was when I learned that smoke bombs smell like rancid hot dogs. Disgusting. I don't recommend it to anybody. Um, oh yeah, the clones part was probably one of my favorite parts. Were just like cardboard cutouts of me. So um, Kyle just like told me to do a bunch of poses, and then he took a video of that and just like took the stills as individual images and like cut me out to make these like cardboard cutouts.
Oh, that's so
Um,
cool.
the original idea was to get a bunch of people out here in North Carolina um, to like uh, just walk with me. So it's like this big like group walk,
Mm.
but that was that would have been really expensive or like uh, a lot more difficult to get everybody out here. So I think that's how we came up with the clones idea.
So do you still have like a closet full of cardboard cutouts of yourself then?
No, no, no. We did it all digitally. There's no
Oh, okay.
actual, but after the video came out, we did joke that like, oh, we should send cardboard cutouts to people, but I don't think anyone wants that. I definitely do not want that.
I've thought about like because you can get like celebrity cardboard cutouts,
Yeah.
and like I remember when I was in college, like we always thought about like just ordering like I think we were gonna do like a Danny DeVito one or something like that, just to just to have for no reason.
Yeah, I did look into it. It's about $20 to $30 a piece, depending on how many you order. so, so we did consider it for sure.
Okay. Um, and
Maybe I'll
then
send one to Mike Park so you could just have one in the garage. I'm sure
I
he'll
think out of
love
anybody,
that.
he would probably enjoy it the most.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like, here's that
uh,
weird artist that I signed. What am I doing?
um, and then you kind of mentioned there, as of right now, there's no plans for any other music videos off the record, correct?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so this is the last single and video, and then the record is out March 29th. I suppose it'd be out by this time already. But yeah, any new videos I think will be like whenever I have a new release ready.
Okay, I mean, if you were, let's say, you had a budget still that you could pick one more song off this record to kind
Ooh,
of do
that's
a
a good
music video,
question. Yeah.
which one
Hmm.
would you pick off of this?
There's a there's two that come to mind. One, I really like Sick just because it's just feels like this like um garage rock song with like attitude, and I don't know what the video would be exactly, but like being able to perform that would be pretty fun. Um and then the other one that comes to mind is Autopilot, and I really like the synths in that song, and I don't know, I feel like I I could see a video with like we're in a laboratory or something like that. Just like white lab coats and I don't know, synthesizers all around.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I know I kind of looked at your website, and I know you kind of have a couple shows in March, and then you have a show in May. Um, but do you plan on trying to do like any tours? I know it's kind of difficult with the whole band kind of being spread out, but like, do you have anything planned
Yeah.
for this year?
I really would love to do at least a couple tours this year to promote the album. I do everything myself. I don't have like an agent or anything like that, so it's all on me to like book all the shows and stuff. And like I think between promoting the record and working my job and like it's been hard to like put together a proper tour this year. Though there are a few things in the works. I feel like um, there'll be hopefully more to talk about by the time this episode comes out. But yeah, we definitely want to do like another. Um, I do want to play more places in the U.S., especially since we haven't really played a bunch of shows until, or we haven't really toured until, or I guess like 2022 was the first time we really started playing shows. 2023 was the first time we really started um, touring. So everything's still relatively new. So there's still a ton of places that we haven't played and would love to play,
Well,
Minneapolis included.
dude, I would love to see Teens in Trouble in person. I know I watched some of the sets that you have on the YouTube. I think there's one from like Pooza Fest and a couple other shows that
Yeah.
you've done. And I would love to see this record in person. Like,
Yeah, and that's I think that's sort of like the approach that I took with this record too. Like when the first EP came out, um, like we played some shows around that, which was challenging at first because it's only 4 songs. It's like I think we like covered a Pixie song. We covered which one was it? Wave of Mutilation to like try to fill out our set, and like we played Santa Monica, which it feels so weird to play now because it's such a different kind of song um, with all the rest of the songs. I feel like I don't enjoy playing it as much live. Um, and so like, that was our set would be like, um, the EP without I Wonder What You're Doing Now, because that's hard to play live, and it's also just like an acoustic song. Um, you know, the Pixies cover and Santa Monica, and then try to like talk a little more in between to like have at least a 20-minute set. But now that we have more songs and like we started playing some of the album songs, uh, or the full length songs live, and it's such a difference between that and the EP. I think because we recorded when we recorded the album in the studio, a lot of the focus was on how it feels live to play. I just really love to rock out. I've been in bands where like all we did was just like run into each other and like thrash around on stage, and I sort of missed that when I was playing the EP songs. Where it's like these these are like nice mid-tempo songs, but you can't really like rock out to them. I you can't like I think I started going in that direction when I wrote Decomposing, which is more like of a garage rock kind of song. But yeah, when once we started playing the full length songs live, it was like, okay, yeah, this is what I want it to feel like. And when we were recording the songs in the studio, like our drummer would play, and I would be playing guitar while he was playing drums, and I would just sort of like feel out the song live and like, okay, this feels rocking, or like, no, we need to play this faster, or just like trying to feel exactly um, like what feels good.
Yeah. No, that's a cool way to do it because I don't know. I had a good analogy in my head, but I can't think of it now. But you want to test it while you're doing it rather than like
Mhm.
going through all this trouble putting it out and then having like getting to the stage and being like, oh, we have to change everything for live performances because
Yeah.
this is not going to work.
Yeah, and that was something that I think just like I had thought about this recently, and I think it's because one, when I got back into the studio to record the debut EP, it was the first time that I met Randy and Henry in person.
Mm.
Um, and so that there's like this new factor, and like I was shy. and I also, this was my first time back in the studio in like 7 years, and I think prior, like 7 years ago when I recorded Santa Monica, um, which was also my first time like in a professional recording studio, because all the other bands I've been in and releases I put out, we just like did everything very DIY and recorded in like a friend's basement or something like that. Um, but yeah, when I recorded Santa Monica, it was sort of like a challenging experience, and like um, it, it didn't feel as supportive as like when I got into the studio in 2022, um, for the debut EP, where it's like, oh wow, everyone, like this is very collaborative, and everyone's like super supportive, and so it was sort of like coming out of my shell a little bit. Um, and so by the time we recorded the full length, we had already worked with each other by the time, we're friends, and like we all sort of like know each other's styles. Um, so there was more chemistry, I feel like, by the time we played or recorded the full length, and so I felt like that just made it a much stronger session for us.
That's awesome. Um, I had a thought and then I lost it, but that's okay. No,
It's all
um,
good.
yeah, that happens all the time. I know we've kind of jumped around on this album. We kind of talked, the singles, the music videos for it, um, and I we talked about like the ebbs and flows throughout this whole record. But is there anything that I might have missed that you want the people to know about the album What's Mine?
Hmm. Um, yeah, I guess um, hmm, just sort of like talking about the album as a whole and like the songwriting process going into that. I think, for me, because this is like my first full length, I decided to you know, go go big with it, so to speak. And that doesn't by that I mean just like I wanted to I wanted it to be like an authentic representation of myself. And so um with like the songwriting, I wanted to just really try things and get out of my comfort zone a little bit and just see like what felt right. And I think it's um uh I guess a representation of where I am right now, which I know we've talked about, like songs being a bookmark of a time and place. And like I said, going back to the debut EP, a lot of that felt safe in hindsight. Where I'm like, I'm just trying to figure out like what my range is and like what my style is, and um, now I'm just like trying to push my voice a little bit, which I think is sort of present in songs like "It's Up to Me" or "You Don't Want to Mess with Me" or uh, "Sick," where I'm like trying to belt out a little more, which is that's new to me for sure. I think with like the EP songs, I sing a little bit lower because that's what feels comfortable. I'm like, I don't think I could sing high at all, or do anything like that. But I think yeah. So this is sort of just like uh, for me, it's an interesting recording of growth for myself, and that's something that I feel proud of because it's just been something I've been working on for a long time, and to have a record of it, which is both like scary and vulnerable, and it's like there for people to listen to. It's like, cool, this is where I am now, and you know, hopefully people will find like something that they can relate to in it, or like find a song that makes them feel good. But yeah, that's sort of like where my thinking is around this album. It's just like, let's just try to get weird with it, make it rock, have fun with it. Yeah.
To kind of reiterate with the whole like timestamp, obviously this one's the timestamp of where you are right now. Uh, what can we expect in the next chapter of Teens in Trouble?
That's a good question. I have no idea. Um, I, you know, I've been trying to, even though it's hard for me to like solely focus on new songs right now during this album cycle, I have been like recording little ideas here and there. Um, and so, as far as like style, I'm interested in trying more new things that feel right for me. So it's possible that the next album or release might sound different. But that's sort of what I admire about bands like Clean or like the Sparks, where it's like they have so many different styles through each release. And like I don't know if you've seen the Sparks documentary, but they were talking about how like this is what we were doing and into at the time. So like that's that's that style now. So I don't know. I don't feel like tied to a particular genre necessarily or style. Um, and even with some of the stuff in the new album, like that's the hardest thing about like when people ask you like what genre you play, you're like, I don't know. Like I just like to I mean, I guess it's rock because if you like to rock, then and you got like distorted guitars or whatever. But yeah, I feel like there's just so many different um, styles in this album alone. Where like "Sick" is different from "What Am I Doing," which is different from "I'm Not Perfect," and like how does that all fit together? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely difficult to try and like put a classification on it. Like, yes, at the beginning of this I said punk dream pop, but like I I'd probably classify the whole thing as a form of punk, and then I think I saw dream pop on like and I think maybe your Spotify bio. So I was like, okay, I'll just throw that in there because some songs are a little bit dreamier than others,
And I
but
think
like,
like What Am I Doing is more in that vein ish.
yeah,
But no, yeah, that's the thing that's interesting to me when talking about this album, or yeah, especially this album with other people, is like hearing their um, descriptions of it, because I'm always like, oh, interesting. Because I mean, like, and I don't think there's a wrong answer necessarily. I just haven't really thought of it, and that's why, like, if you look at my Instagram bio, it's like rock music for dog people. Because I'm like, I don't know what genre this is, but like one of the first people I shared the album with told me, is like, oh, there's like some shoegaze stuff and like some emo. I'm like, oh, interesting.
yeah,
Not thought about that, but I could hear it. And then another cool thing too, I was surprised by were just like there's some metalheads that I know that enjoy the record too, because there are some like heavier riffs in there, which I also love, but it's not like a metal record.
right. Yeah, I think the playlist that this one showed up on is um like I have a playlist saved, and it's basically like a punk kind of like hardcore playlist, and playlist showed up on that.
Oh,
Uh
nice.
and so it was kind of funny because I think it went from like the new Comeback Kid to your song, and I was like, well, this is a change of pace, but I'm not mad about it. Like I like both
Nice.
songs are solid. So
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but
Like playlist in particular, when that song came out, we got some playlisting on Apple Music, and we were on like every genre playlist. It was just like new and alternative, new and indie, new and punk, new and rock. We were in like all of those, and like, cool.
that's awesome. So moral of the story to everyone listening: be sure to go listen to "What's Mine." It is out already. It was #1 on the Billboard charts, and all that fun stuff. You can get vinyl copies over at Asian Man Records, which we'll talk about some links here in a little bit.
I should put
Um,
that sticker on my album though. #1 on all Billboard charts, as said by Beers and Bands podcast.
yeah, instead of like the seal of approval on like books by Oprah's book club, it's just like me saying that. Like
Yeah.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah, same. I'll put it on our
um,
website.
there we go. One cool thing with the vinyl variants though is you're doing random colors for the pressings. I think on Asian Records on like the website, Mike made a little note that obviously the record should be here by the time the album comes out, but if he gets them before then, he might send them out. Have you seen any of
Damn, you
the
saw
variants
that?
yet?
I was like, oh no, he's really gonna do it, isn't he? And he has before. Not with this one, but I did have to tell him specifically because he's just wild. I'm like, Mike, don't. How early are you gonna send it out? Like, do not send it out at least before March 5th
Right.
or 6th or whatever. I think so. Like, we did have it in hand, or we do have it. I don't know. It's weird with like tenses for this being out, but we did get it early, and which is a relief because when we were putting out the debut EP, that was around the time when there was still a lot of backups at pressing plants. So it took 14 months for that EP to come out on vinyl. Um, but this one we finally got on time. So as you mentioned, Mike said he might just send it out early, which I think he will, at least in early March. And I guess that's, I would call that a perk of pre-ordering from Asian Man, is you might get it before everyone else does. So
Uh, but have you seen any of the variants as to like how they came out for this?
yeah, okay. I'm gonna spoil two that I saw. One, there's a really cool purple one that I like, but there's one that I call Vomit Orange, which I also feel is fitting for this album. So yeah, those are the two that I've seen. I don't know if there are any other colors, but yeah, purple and vomit orange are definitely in there.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, those are solid colors.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone that's getting a copy, make sure to post a picture of what variant you got, and
Yeah.
and tag Lizzie and Teens in Trouble,
Yeah.
so that way they can see it as well. Um, we're gonna start to transition to the later half of this episode. Um, Before we get there, though, this is obviously Beers with Bands. You don't have to be drinking on these episodes, because I will definitely do that for you. But Lizzie, I know you're drinking a beverage or two on your end. What are you drinking on this fine Saturday?
Well, I have a bubbly sparkling water, cherry flavored, and I have a Health Aid kombucha pomegranate flavor, which I guess that's fermented too,
Yeah,
like beer. So I have a so we're opening for our expandits in a couple weeks in Phoenix. So I've been trying to get out of my holiday rut and get back into like doing normal practicing and just getting ready for the show. So usually when I do that, I'm just trying to stay healthy and take my vitamins and hydrate and all that. But yeah, I'm super excited. This is going to be our first show this year. So um, yeah, just excited to get back on stage.
yeah, yeah. I feel like that's a great show also to have as your like first show back for this year.
Yeah, it's super
Um,
cool. Like, it's for their 20th anniversary tour for the resignation. And so they're playing two nights in Phoenix, and we're supporting both nights. And I know one of them's already sold out. So I'm just like, all right, no pressure. Just don't get sick.
right. Well, hopefully that show goes well. I'll be, ready to see some pictures when those get posted. Uh, on my end today, just taking it nice and easy because it's in the Midwest. It's only noon now. Just drinking a nice, good old
Nice.
Modelo.
That's a classic.
Yeah,
We that would have been mine if we had any more. I think we like got through our supply. But yeah, I'm in Raleigh now, 1 p.m. here, just trying to take it easy myself.
that's fair. Um, but that's the little beer segment to keep the beer name in the title of the
Yeah.
podcast. I got to do those, but now we're gonna transition
I'll
to
take a Modelo sponsorship though if they want to
that'd
sponsor a
be
band.
that'd be honestly pretty sick.
Yeah, we could do some like Michelada partnerships or something like that.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah.
But now we're going to kind of transition to the actual last half of this podcast. Always kind of my favorite part of the episodes where we kind of talk about some fun stories from your time in music. As I normally say, they can be from like shows, tours, time recording. Obviously, we kind of talked some music video stories earlier. Um, they can be anything horrendous to tremendous or any adjective in between. The way I like to think about it is think about the stories you always reminisce about with your friends. Those are the ones that everyone loves to hear.
Oh man. Um, so just like any story of like from like live shows or
Live shows, tours, basically your time in the music scene in general.
yeah, I guess like one that comes to mind, um, and this is another indicator for me of like if I'm not at this level, like we're not rocking hard enough. But one of my favorite shows that I ever played, I was in this band called the Glowing Stars, and it's like this chiptune punk band. And we were like a duo. I played guitar and sang, and my friend Matt Payne played drums and like operated all the Game Boys. But yeah, that was another band that like just we love to rock. And like, there came a point, I don't know how or why, but like, there were many shows where we started like, my finger would start bleeding all over the guitar. And like, uh, so we played this show in what's it called now? It's called This was in Seattle, and it was a this place called Pink Gorilla, and it was like a video game store out there. which is like a weird place to play shows, but they had shows there, and I don't know if it still exists, but if it does, uh, my blood is definitely on that stage from that show. Um, but that was super fun. I think I like already cut my finger like the first song in, and then like someone from the audience came up to stage and gave me a Hello Kitty Band-Aid. So I just thought that was a sweet moment. Um, other other stories. Um, ooh, it's like going through my brain here. Yeah, probably my worst show I ever played. I was in this band called Sputterdoll, which was the first big punk band. Oh, big in quotes. You know, we're just a local like Bay Area punk band, but for me it was big because that was like the first band I was in that was touring. Um, we had played uh, the 2005 Warped Tour in San Francisco one time, um, but I was when I joined that band, I was like the youngest person in the band, and I think I joined when I was mm, 18 or 19. And I was in that band for a few years, and like I was also in the band when I first turned 21, and I was like, there was one show where I just like drank way too much, and we were playing, and I just decided mid set to stop playing. I was like, I'm done. I'm gonna sit down. Like, so we're in the middle of a song, and I just like sit down and like stop playing guitar. And like, there's some photos from this show where like the bassist comes up to me, and she's like yelling at me, like, "What are you doing?" And like, there's photos where it looks like I don't think anyone could tell if like you didn't know the story, like looking at the photos, but like it looks like we're just like rocking out because I'm on the floor and like this our bassist is all up in my face, but she's actually really mad at me. Anyway, with that, I would like to apologize to our bassist Rio for that time. I was very young and dumb, and yeah, bands now don't do that on stage.
Yeah. I remember my friends told me this story of they were playing like a house show once, and you know it's like a maybe college house show, so there's just plenty of alcohol everywhere. And the bass player got so drunk during like prior to their set that like in the middle of their set he just like forgot how to keep playing bass, so he just like kind of stopped and then just kind of like put his hands up of just like I can't do this.
I've definitely been there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even the sans alcohol, where it's just like sometimes you're like in a flow and just like, yeah, I'm rocking out, and then the moment you're like conscious about what you're doing, and you're like, oh shit, I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Where are what are these chords? What
Yeah,
fret am I on?
it's the moment where your brain tries to fight the muscle memory for whatever
Yeah.
reason, and then your body's just like, oh wait, like I'm supposed to breathe right now. Like how does this
Yeah,
work?
I'm always so afraid of that. Like, and especially now, um, I don't know, like I've been just working on a lot of stuff um, with like music and our performance lately. And so like I feel like I'm constantly thinking about everything. Where I'm like, okay, did you know, I can only have this like one drink right before, and I have to eat like 2 hours before, and it has to be small, and like and I have to remember to breathe at these certain points in the song, and also like is it like you're thinking about singing and you're thinking about playing guitar, and then you're thinking about just like being at your like top physical self, and it's like how did this was it was a lot easier when we were just like younger and drinking a ton and like for just going on stage and uh messing up was part of it, but now you're like, I can't mess up. But I don't know, I think um yeah, it's weird because like we're in a time now where everyone's like recording everything, so you kind of worry about like, oh no, what if we play a bad set, but someone puts it on YouTube?
Right.
It's just like something you never had to worry about before. Um, I feel like that's like the darker side of being in, you know, in a band like these days.
Yeah, or you have moments where you get too drunk and you're on stage and like it gets blasted all over like TikTok and like Instagram, and then it's
Oh
just
my
like
gosh, I'm so glad that all that stuff did not exist when I was in those other bands.
yeah, to think like to think of how it would have been in like that time period if like all these things existed. Like it's insane because I can't remember if I was talking to someone about this or I just read an article about it, but like you have like the hair metal bands of like the 80s and 90s and the shit that they got away with. It wouldn't have happened at all if we would have had like today's technology with like social media. It would have been
Yeah,
insane to see them try and pull off any of what they had done.
right, right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there are definitely like positives and negatives. Like, I do love being able to share different clips from our shows. And like this last tour we had in December, we did a small tour on the or sorry, the West Coast. And my friend Asia, who did the videos for um, Decomposing and You Don't Want to Mess with Me, was on tour with us, like just filming sets. And yeah, so I think we have like a clip from our Seattle show online, but it's nice to have uh, those memories recorded. But yeah, if it's just a complicated thing, I think.
Yeah. But just keep doing what you're doing. And keep it together, and you'll be fine. Don't have to worry
Yeah, easier said than done.
about it.
But yeah, I think that's an interesting thing too about just like music as like a bookmark of a time and place where it's like sometimes I feel like when I'm putting music out there, it's kind of just like it's just so vulnerable and like um with the added layer of things like social media where it's like, oh, everyone could see everything that you're doing and basically watching you either like succeed or fail like in real time. Um but yeah, it I know it's like a complicated thing for a lot of different people. Like I've worked with bands before and like um in terms of just like trying to help them promote their music and just like put their stuff out there. And there's so many bands that are just like, I just want to write music and I don't want to post anything on social. And I'm like, that's totally fair. But I don't know. It's like uh, sometimes it feels like a necessary evil where you're like, well, this is how some people are finding new stuff. So
Yeah, 100%. Like
I mean,
I've kind
like,
of
I guess
mentioned
you wouldn't have seen the playlist video if it wasn't in that playlist.
right, exactly. Like it's such like social media can be very beneficial, but it's also like for someone that like me that even though I do this podcast, I'm very like introvert. I don't have a big social media presence even with my personal stuff. So, I'm doing this and I'm like, fuck, I gotta like make a Twitter. I gotta like talk to people. I gotta do this. And then I still end up like not posting a lot.
Yeah,
And it's just like one of those tough hurdles to get through.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, like, for me too. I mean, even though I am like fronting this band, I am also a very introverted person, and so um, yeah, it's always just like a very specific choice to figure out what to post and when you're like, oh, we gotta promote the single coming out. Um, or like, I maybe I just share this with my friend group text.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough thing. But you know, keep promoting, keep doing your thing. I'm excited to see what Teens in Trouble does next. I know, at the time of this recording, album's not fully out yet. It'll be out when this episode's out. and I'm just really stoked to see that next chapter.
Thanks. Yeah, no, me too. I am also excited to see what happens next because I have no idea.
We've talked a lot about the album. We've talked, your processes and stuff, but I always like to leave off these episodes on a high note on how everything's gone. So my final question to you before I let you go today is, in your time doing Teens in Trouble, what has been your favorite moment that you've experienced so far?
I think just being able to spend time with these new friends of mine. um, like I mentioned, when I got back into studio for the um, the debut EP in 2022, that's when I really started to get to know Randy and Henry. And even though I've known Mike Huguenot for a while, it was really cool to work on music together. Like I've always respected his music, like him and his music, and I'm just like really in love with his guitar tone and style. So it was just like a huge honor to have him on there on the record with us, and just like being able to then work on the full length and like really flesh that out with them, and the split, and then also just like working with Bailey on the split too. Just like it just feels like a nice little community. Or like, yeah, Teens in Trouble is like this crew now. Yes, Bailey is part of Teens in Trouble now, unofficially. But yeah, no, we still have this group text with Bailey in it and like the band. So, and this was from our tour together in December, which also adds to like not just like recording music with them, but playing music with them. I know they all have like their own things. Henry has his solo project, Henry Chadwick. Go check him out. Randy is in a million bands, and Mike is, uh, you know, with Jeff Rosenstock. So it's just, um, I'm just like super grateful for the time that they have spent with this project, because I think it sounds great.
Yeah, no, I can't stress enough how great this album sounds. I'm so stoked on it. So stoked for everyone to listen to it when it finally drops. Um, if anyone's looking for merch, music, or Teens in Trouble in general, where can they find it?
The easiest thing is probably teensinTrouble.net. So that's like our website that links to everything. So all our streaming links are on there, and uh, our YouTube channel is linked to there, and it goes to whatever store page you need to. But I also keep our Instagram pretty updated. So just follow Teens in Trouble on Instagram.
Well, you heard it there. Depending on where you found this episode, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter, Threads,
Too
YouTube.
many.
I know.
Blue
Check the hyperlinks
Sky.
down below.
Yeah.
Make sure you follow Teens in Trouble on their platforms and be ready for, new music, possible tour dates maybe this year. And make sure you head over to Asian Man Records, pick up a copy of this vinyl, and be sure to share your picture of the variant that you got. One last big thank you to Lizzie for stopping by the show. I had a great time, and like I said, I'm stoked for Teens in Trouble. I'm stoked on everything coming up, and it's been a good time chatting with you.
Thanks. Likewise. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Um, you know, Everyone, like I said, go listen to Teens in Trouble. Be sure to check out What's Mine, and I'll catch everyone on the next episode. See ya.